Dear student, Assalamu alaikum. In econometrics, today we are going to explore the multicollinearity. Learning outcomes. After this lecture, you will be able to understand what is collinearity, what is multicollinearity, deduction of multicollinearity, consequences of the multicollinearity, and remedies measure of the multicollinearity. So, what is collinearity? Before discussing the collinearity, I will let you know about the different assumptions of the least square method. In previous lecture, we discussed the simple linear regression model and the multiple linear regression model. There are certain assumptions to estimate these models. That is the multicollinearity, heteroscedasticity, and the serial correlation. Out of these assumptions, the first and foremost is the multicollinearity. So today we are going to discuss about the multicollinearity. So what is collinearity? The collinearity is the linear association between two explanatory variables. Two variables that are perfectly collinear if there is an exact linear relationship between them. So remember, linear regression is the in which the one dependent and one independent variable is the simple linear regression, and one dependent and set of independent variable in which the is called the multiple linear regression model. If the independent variable are correlated with each other, that is called the collinearity. Now, what is the multicollinearity? Multicollinearity refers to a situation in which two or more explanatory variables in the multiple regression model are highly linearly related. We have perfect multicollinearity if, for example, as in equation above, the correlation between equation above discuss, that is the multiple linear regression model in which the two or more independent variable available. The above discussed, the correlation between two independent variables is equal to 1 or minus 1. In practice, we rarely face the perfect multicollinearity in the data set. More commonly, the issue of the multicollinearity arises when there is an approximate linear relationship among two or more independent variables. So in simple words, the simple definition, multicollinearity is a state of very high intercorrelation or interassociation among the independent variable. Make sure that one thing you make sure there is the correlation between independent variable. So our independent variable should be independent. It is therefore a type of the disturbance in the data, and if the present in the data, the statistical inferences made about the data may not be reliable. Why multicollinearity occurs? There are certain reasons why multicollinearity occurs. It is caused by an inaccurate use of dummy variables. Number two, it is caused by inclusion of the variable which is computed from the other variable in the data set. Multicollinearity can also result from the repetition of the same kind of the variables, and generally occurs when the variables are highly correlated to each other. The problems of the multicollinearity. Multicollinearity can result in several problems. These problems are as follows. The partial regression coefficient due to the multicollinearity may not be estimated precisely. The standard errors are likely to be high. Multicollinearity results in a change in the signs as well as the magnitude of the partial regression coefficient from one sample to another sample. Multicollinearity make it tedious to assess the relative importance of the independent variable in explaining the variation caused by the dependent variable. In the presence of the high multicollinearity, the confidence interval of the coefficient tend to become very wide and statistics lead to be very small. it becomes difficult to reject the null hypothesis of any study when the multicollinearity is present in the data under study. So how to detect the multicollinearity? Our next task is to how to check either there is a multicollinearity exists in our model. There are certain signals which help to the researcher to detect the degree of the multicollinearity. One such signal is if the individual outcome of a statistics is not significant, but the overall outcomes of the statistics is the significant. In this instance, the researcher might get a mix of the significant and insignificant results that show the presence of the multicollinearity. Suppose the researcher, after dividing this sample into two parts, finds that the coefficient of the sample differ drastically. This indicates that the presence of the multicollinearity. This means that the coefficients are unstable due to the presence of the multicollinearity. Suppose the researcher observed drastic change in the model by the simply adding or dropping the sum variable. This also indicates that multicollinearity is present in the data. So there is a formula to detect the multicollinearity, which is called the variance inflation factors, VIF. Multicollinearity can also be detected with the help of the tolerance and its reciprocal called the variance inflection factors, VIF. If the value of the tolerance is the less than 0.2 or 0.1 and simultaneously the value of the VIF 10 and above, then the multicollinearity is the problematic. A tolerance is less than 0.2 or 0.1 or the VIF of 5 or 10 and above indicate multicollinearity. Here is the formula: 1 for tolerance, 1 minus r square, and the VFI is equal to 1 over tolerance. Thank you very much for your patience.